just wanted to give
Well,
you guys a little bit of
yeah.
background about the seriousness of syncretism and what happens when we mesh those things.
What I was gonna say was, and we kind of talked about it a little bit before we got on to the call. What do you think is at the root of why this is a growing popularity to merge, these different things together? Like instead of going from being, how we used to be, in the Christian faith and how we should be, to where we're, the word and the word only, to it now being attractive to mesh all these things together.
Honestly, Holly, and you're right, we did kind of talk about that just briefly. I personally think I haven't seen the research that kind of supports it. This is just as a believer that lives in a world. I believe that there's a lot of deconstruction of faith taking place
Hmm.
amongst believers as a whole. People have looked at church and they've looked at how they do church and experiences and past hurts and pains and things they don't agree with and all of these things. And I think people have begun to really deconstruct their faith and
Yeah.
disassimilate. And I think in the deconstruction of their faith, well, they're deconstructing, but they're finding things to fill it in with. And
Mm.
so I think for some, and just, just to speak on our culture, we're Black women, a
Mhm.
lot of Black individuals have really honed in to denying the God of the white enslaver, which is a whole nother
Mhm.
podcast
Yeah.
because we know that after that Jesus and the Bible was being taught and preached way before we ever were brought over to these shores.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Again, another podcast, but there's this denial of we don't want the God of our white slave masters. We want
Mhm.
to identify with our African roots. And in
Yeah.
identifying, we're seeking out understanding more.
Mhm.
And in that understanding, there may be some things about our faith that we don't want to completely get away from,
Yeah.
but I could use a little bit of what they're doing over there too, because that seems to be like not
Mhm.
bad. That's
Yeah.
my own thoughts. But what do you think?
So, like in this quest to have identity, because I know that's a big thing for us as African
Oh, that's
Americans,
really
and
good.
having that ripped away from us. So, this is
Yeah.
a way for us to reassimilate back to, what we were, meant, or what we felt like we were meant to be. And I think, and I feel like in a lot of ways, when we were taken from our land, um, there was a negative connotation put on us in general, on all of our practices, on all of our
Hmm.
um, traditions, because they wanted us to assimilate and be like them. They didn't want
Right.
us speaking our language because they wanted to know what we were saying. So that was the first thing that was stripped, and then of course, um, with the inclusion, and with the Christianity being preached to us, they preached it to us from an angle that would benefit them.
Hmm.
And so I think that there is a disdain there, there's a resentment there as well, as far as um how just a lot of things about us have a negative were given a negative connotation in order for us not to participate in them.